Erling Haaland, Alexander Isak, Phil Foden up for Premier League Young Player of the Year award. Those guys are all turning 24. Some of them already have. How can they be Young Player of the Year? We gotta fix this award, and it's not often I turn to American sports for the solution, but that's what we're gonna do today here on Pints and Punditry at the Pitchside Pub. You can't win Young Player of the Year award when you're closer to the end of your career than you are to the beginning of it, as is the case for some of these guys, like Phil Foden, who's already won this award a couple times and has been a Manchester City regular for 7 years now. So we're going to fix this award. This is not that complicated and something has to be done. But before we get into that, make sure you hit that subscribe button for me down below so you can follow the channel. Go ahead and get in that comment section. Let me know what you think. Who do you think should be up for it? And what do you think the criteria should be? Get down that comment section. Let me know what you think. You can also leave some comments on Twitter at PitchsidePub. And, of course, check out the website, pitchsidepub.com. So, listen, these are end-of-the-year awards. They don't really matter. These are all just supposed to be fun. But they matter for legacies and sometimes bonuses and sponsorship and fame. And so they matter to the players. And at the end of the day, if we're going to do this, let's do it right. We gotta make sense. So with the current criteria, as long as you are not more than 23 before the start of the season, you're eligible for this award. So a player like Alexander Isak, who is at this point 24, or Phil Foden, who turns 24 in a couple weeks, remain eligible. And that is way too old for a couple of reasons. One, careers are starting earlier these days. Phil Foden made his debut at 16. A lot of these players are regulars at 18 and 19. It's 23 is the middle of a career. Secondly, footballing careers don't last that long. 30 is sort of a line of demarcation where players start to fall off a cliff. By 33, 34, most of these players' careers are over or are certainly close to it. So to allow a Young Player of the Year award to go till 23, and in these cases, a 24-year-old player winning it really goes well into the prime of a career. I would say Phil Foden's in his prime. I would say Erling Haaland is in his prime. A lot of these guys are in their prime. How can it be a Young Player of the Year award? And that gets into the spirit of the award, which is supposed to be a young, up-and-coming player. You're honoring a young, up-and-coming player who probably is not good enough to win the overall Player of the Year award, except that in this year's case, you've got Foden, you've got Palmer, you've got a lot of guys who are overlapping because you're allowing such old players. Even Palmer is 22 and had already been with Manchester City for a few seasons. So we got to change this criteria, and I have a few suggestions, including looking towards Major League Baseball for some inspiration. Now, in American sports, football and basketball, you have to rule out because it's very easy to tell who a rookie is. There's a draft, they come out of college, and they play a season, and it's their rookie season. So it's very easily defined. Major League Baseball, however, does offer us some equivalencies because there is a minor league system and players can be called up to the majors, or what we would call the first team in football, at any point. Sometimes it's at the beginning of a season, sometimes it's towards the end of a season, sometimes it's just in the middle of May. And so what they do is they go based on how much they have played. There is actually no age restriction whatsoever in Major League Baseball. You could have a 30-year-old rookie who wins Rookie of the Year, and that's what they call it. It's not Young Player of the Year, it's called Rookie of the Year, because anybody who is in essentially their first season is allowed to win it. Now, there is a playing requirement. If you have more than 130 plate appearances, or you throw more than 50 innings, that then counts as your rookie year, and you will not be eligible for this award again in a following season. And I do think the Premier League should implement something like that. Now, you could go by starts made or appearances, or what I would suggest is minutes played. And I would make it, my suggestion, personal suggestion would be to make it about 1,000 minutes. Because if you look at some of these players in their history and when they should have been eligible for this award, a player like Foden played a few hundred minutes here, a few hundred minutes there. Palmer did the same thing with Manchester City, and now he's finally in his first essential full season. Foden has had his first full season a few years ago, and so those are the years that they should have been eligible for it. Now, I don't believe that it should be completely like baseball in that an older player should win it. I would still like it to be a Young Player of the Year award, and you do have established veterans coming over from other leagues, from Serie A, from La Liga, and making their Premier League debut in their 20s, in their 30s. they obviously should not be eligible. This is not a Rookie of the Year award. It is meant to be a Young Player of the Year award. So the age criteria should lower from 23 to 21, like the Football Writers Association has done. This is the Premier League award that has not changed it. So the PFA got theirs right. You could lower it to that. However, I do believe there should still be a playing time component to it, so that you are, once you have played enough minutes in the Premier League, you're no longer eligible for it in following seasons. This should not be an award you should be able to win more than one time, because if you have established yourself as a Premier League player who's playing 1,500 minutes in a season, you're no longer really a young player in the spirit of what this award is trying to do. Remember, the spirit of the award is to honor a player who is on the rise, who is up and coming, who is probably not yet going to play enough or be good enough to win the actual Premier League Player of the Year award. Phil Foden could win both of these awards this year. And if he was truly a young player, that would be an astonishing achievement. Had he done this at 18, that would be phenomenal. And if a player does that, then we should honor them with both. But once you win Young Player of the Year award, you shouldn't even be eligible for it in following seasons. So by this criteria, if you could take off Foden, you could take off Isak, you could take off Haaland, and you could replace them with players like João Pedro or Alejandro Garnacho from Manchester United. Even Rasmus Højlund would be a potential candidate for this list with some of the goals he's scored. Jared Branthwaite, Teden Mengi from Luton Town. I mean, there are some guys here who are in their 19 and 20, 21-year-old seasons who are more deserving of an award like this. So I would love to see this changed. Phil Foden does not need to win another Young Player of the Year award. And to be honest, even though both he and Cole Palmer are up for Overall Player of the Year award, I think you'll see a lot of voters vote for Palmer for Young Player of the Year and then Foden for Overall Player of the Year, simply because they don't want to give the same award to both and because Palmer's a little younger and hasn't won it yet, which is really dumb. That's a really dumb way to go about it. In theory, if you think Phil Foden is the Overall Player of the Year in the league and he's eligible for Young Player, then by default he has to be Young Player. The problem is he shouldn't be eligible. So let's change this. Let's do it right. Yes, this is for fun, and it's not something I'm going to get totally worked up about, but let's make this make sense. And there's no way a player should be eligible for this award for like 7 straight years and still be winning this award when he's already had 100 caps for England or whatever he's got, and 2 kids, and he's been a Manchester City regular. He's won 4 Premier League titles, for crying out loud. I mean, it just shouldn't happen. So let's change the criteria. Let's get it right, and more importantly, let's honor some of these truly young players who are up and coming, because we already know Foden and Isak and Haaland and Palmer and all these other guys that are up for this award. They don't need more flowers from a Young Player of the Year award. Let them compete for the big one. Those are my thoughts. Get down in the comments section. Let me know what you think. This is a fun one. It's not worth getting too worked up about, but it's still okay to have an opinion. We're here to have fun. We're here to talk the game we love, and this would make a great bar conversation if it wasn't early on a Friday morning. So get down in that comment section. Let me know what you think. You can leave some comments on Twitter at PitchsidePub as well. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for me down below so we can continue to grow, and check out the website, pitchsidepub.com. Thanks as always for joining us here on Pints and Punditry at the Pitchside Pub.